Congrats to everybody who made it one step further along in San Diego Angel Conference. Not that this is the only reason why we have this 10-minute polish session, but congrats to anybody who also has gotten one step further in any investor process. We're going to go through a little bit at the very beginning about what that actually looks like and what that actually means to really be at the 10-minute mark. Let me just make sure. Okay, perfect. We would love to have, I would love to have one person who is ready to give their 10-minute. We have about 2 hours together. So would love to, but not in knowledge that it is recorded. What we can do too is in the recording, Stephen, I think we can do this, is not put that one to, like, not put the 10-minute example in the recording. Can we do that?
Yeah, we can just cut that section out.
Yeah, so it depends on you. Like if you want to, if you say, I don't care, I just want to learn and I don't care if it's on YouTube, you can tell me. Or like, look, I don't want it to be, and we will cut it for that. But I would love to have at least 1 or 2 people give their 10 minutes if you're ready for it. That's why I'm telling you to it now, because I'm going to go through what a 10-minute pitch is typically going to look like. And then just get yourselves ready. So, and give you some feedback. I think that we have probably everybody. We had 23 people who registered. I know we were finishing another class right now, our LES class. So I'm waiting for them to come on over. Let me see if anybody is here from my class. Rinquan. Okay, yeah, she did come over. So I know that they have finished. We have finished and come on over. So hi, Rinquan. How are you? I'm so glad you're here. So this is the polishing the 10-minute pitch. And if you have seen my 3-minute pitch, it's going to be similar to that, but I'm very conscious that it is a 10-minute pitch. But the consciousness also is there that if you have a really good 10 to 12 slide pitch deck, you can go from, let's say, 2, 5, 10, I would say 15 minute pitch with that same sort of 12 slide pitch deck, maybe adding 2 or 3 slides to exemplify something that you are very good at. Let's say you have your product and you're in market. You might have a second slide of product saying how we are in market, maybe some testimonials of customers, or let's say you've been around for 10 years, you need to tell people what the first 10 years have been like and what you're looking forward to in the next 10 years. So it all depends on your company and what you add to, let's say, a 12-minute pitch, 12 slide pitch deck. So I will, if you have seen it before, you'll see it again, but I'm very conscious that people have seen it. And I'm going to up level why we're doing certain things for a 10-minute, because you do have more time. It flies. 10 minutes flies. So don't think that you have so much time. The same amount of time that you have prepped for a 3-minute or 5-minute, you should be doing the same amount of time prepping for that 10-minute, because you have to be able to say, okay, in the first 2 minutes, I'm going to hit my product, right? Make sure that I'm talking about my product. And the next 2 minutes, you need to go through market and traction. And what does that look like? Why would this opportunity be so big? Then, the third, fourth of your pitch is like the team and your advisors. What's your technical stack? What's your business stack, allowing you to be the best founding team and the best team possible? And the last is really closing it out with an ask, with let's say a summary slide and all that. So no matter what, there's a structure to that 10-minute and it flies. That's one thing. And the second thing I wanted to go through too is that the 10-minute, congratulations for anybody who's in STAC, who is now San Diego Angel Conference, who is now at 10 minutes. No matter what, wherever you are in a process with an investor, you have probably passed a certain threshold of selection. So you've maybe passed an application process, a 3-minute pitch, a 1-minute pitch, whatever that looks like. The 10-minute pitch is usually that first look at a deeper dive of your company, to be honest. Sometimes it is a pitch competition that allows you to pitch 10 minutes. Usually pitch competitions are 3 to 5 minutes. rarely do you get 10 minutes. So I'm kind of allowing everybody to know that this is the first time people are really diving into your company, the 10-minute, but it's not a 30-minute pitch, right? It's not an hour-long meeting with an investor that you can go on and really deep dive. You really want to stay within the 10-minute and deep dive enough that people want to see even more. They want to see more due diligence. They want to see and interact with you, talk to your customers, interact with your team to understand that due diligence process that's coming up. That due diligence process, usually the good due diligences are about 40 hours for an investor to invest their time to get to know you. So it's a long process, typically 1 month to 3 months for some investors. So this 10-minute is that kind of like linchpin between, I kind of like these companies, it's in our industry, the founder fits our thesis, their industry fits our thesis, all these things that are check marks, check those boxes. And now we have to decide, is this actually worth our 40 hours of due diligence? So do you see how this is kind of like this really interesting position that you're in that 10-minute time frame, that you really have to convince them that you are worth more time and more deep dive. So that's the second thing. The third thing, and this is my final one, is the 10-minute pitch. A lot of people ask me, do I bring in my co-founders? Do I have more people talking and stuff like that? It's similar as 3-minute, is that if you have 2 presenters, that's fine. I've seen 2 presenters. I've seen 1 presenter. You have to be able to be one voice. And especially 10 minutes, because if there's a huge intonation, people either lose somebody or like they're annoyed by something being a little bit off. You want to be as plain vanilla as possible. You want to be like, we are an amazing company. We have this stuff all in a box, and this box is amazing, right? But we also can be evaluated. That's why I say plain vanilla. You have to be evaluated the same way that other people are being evaluated. You can't just be like, you know, changing of intonations, changing of text, fonts in a pitch deck. All those little things, even in a 10-minute, make a lot of difference. Even in the SDAC process, there was a lot of even conversation this year and last year when there's a really good pitch deck that looks really great, and that founder really does a really good job of evaluating. Even if they do not go forwards, or they do, there's a pause to say, wow, they did that really good. And that allows for an investor to be like, okay, maybe they don't go on with a process of an angel group, but I want to invest in them separately. You want that kind of path to be taken off, maybe by doing a really great presentation. So that presentation of either 1, 2 people, or 1 person pitches and the 2 of you take on Q&A, orchestrate that really, really well, and make sure that you are really fitting into a box that people can evaluate you on, because you're really going out of the box when you go into due diligence. The due diligence is, we're going to tear apart your box, right? Right now you're still staying in a box so that they can evaluate you, as opposed to other ones, and say, yes, we want to evaluate this because out of all 20 that we're looking at, I can compare apples to oranges. Good. I want to pull this one and do more due diligence. So, with that, anybody has any questions before I go through like the pitch deck of the 10-minute? Yes, Trevor.
Yeah, I was just curious. So, like with the 3-minute, it basically, obviously, we kind of went in with a full picture of the business, and you kind of already mentioned this, but is the main purpose to have a similar structure, just elaborate more on the important parts of your business that you want to get across?
Yes. So are you asking about SDAC specifically?
I am. Yeah. So like in our 3-minute pitches that we just did, now it's moving to that 10-minute pitch. So I just don't want the investors to be like, oh, I already heard this, or,
Okay.
is that an issue?
Yeah,
Or is that something good? It's reiterating and I'm doubling down on this.
perfect. Great question. And am I back pinned? Oh, where am I? There we go. Do you see me?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, perfect. I want to make sure that the video is correct. So I'm going to take the SDAC question first, and then I'll kind of because we have people who are not SDAC also. So There's tried and
Got it.
true things
Okay.
for both of them. I just want to
Okay.
make sure, right?
Cool.
I'll answer yours, and it's tried and true for other things too. So the assumption that you're making is that all investors that saw your 3-minute are going to see your 10-minute. Or that that's the assumption. There are some investors that might have not been at the 3-minute, that they're going to be there at the 10-minute. There's some that like were not there maybe in person. They saw it all on video, and now they're actually going to see you for the first time 10-minute. Other ones have seen you in 3-minute and 10-minute. So it's kind of like you're dealing with a couple of different varieties of how they've interacted with you. That's granted, right? And so what I would recommend is that you're not going to start off from like ground zero saying, I'm going to repeat all the 3-minute and then like add on another 7 minutes, right? You're really restructuring the entire pitch to dive a little bit deeper. So I'm going to give you some examples of how you can do that. But let's say the problem, because you have only 3 to 5 minutes. We had 5 minutes, right? The last time. Just want to make sure.
Yeah,
3
3
minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
You know, the problem was very much like, the problem is this, and this is my solution, and this is this, and this. I mean, you're going really, really fast. So in the 10-minute, you're like, the problem, you don't want to be like, and the problem is huge and take, like 3 minutes on it. You want to say, problem is huger than maybe I said in the 3-minute. Give them a little bit more like direction. And the targeted problem is this, that I'm targeting in my solution. And then in that solution, you went super fast, like boom, right? This is my solution, move on. It's more of like the solution's this, and maybe the value prop that I'm giving is this. So you're giving them the same thing that you maybe gave them in the 3-minute, but you're expanding just that little bit more so that they can gain a little bit more understanding of what you're doing. Now, if you're a scientist, do not go so deep, right? Stay up, right? For them, people who are not scientists, just think about clarity, right? Is how do I make this clearer to people? Now, by this time, also in STAC, you should have already met 1 or 2 or 3 advisors or investors that have given you feedback. You probably got some questions from the 3-minute, right? That you've answered in the spreadsheet. Take all of that learning and say, how can I restructure my 10-minute that I'm going to address a couple of these things that have come up, right?
Cool.
So you're kind of, it's like 2-part. It's like, okay, I'm going to expand, create clarity and rigor, but I'm also going to be super targeted because it's at Stack, and I actually know the questions that they've asked me and do a little tweak on exactly what they're asking. If like they've never asked about market, you're not going to dive deep and do 3 minutes on market. But if they've like asked you and you've actually met with an advisor, and that advisor says, actually, there's a lot of questions about your product, then you need to go with that little bit more 30 seconds to talk about that product. So kind of you're convoluting all those things together so that you are more clear in that 10-minute. And don't forget, you have Q&A in STAC to like really get clear. So you want to be like, okay, out of all the things that I know that they need a more clarity and rigor, I'm going to produce that for them. Even if they've seen me before or not, they need to see that I can execute a 10-minute, because that 10-minute allows me to see as an investor that you can communicate that to the customer. You can sell to a customer, because now I'm showing you a little bit longer, right? And then reserve that kind of deeper dive of Q&A in the Q&A, because then you're going to get targeted Q&A, exactly what they wanted you to dive deeper. Okay. And then so the response to anybody who's outside of STAC, I'm like, I want to make sure I do that, is that is like kind of like the tried and true of any 10-minute. If they have seen you before, you don't want to assume, oh, they've seen me and I'm just going to say, oh, so like, hi, I'm Sylvia and you've already heard me and I'm just going to dive into some other thing. No, like you want to make sure that you do either that you feel comfortable about doing a 2-minute kind of quick and then go really deep into other things, or you're gonna go little by little deeper in each of the things that maybe you've gotten feedback on from the investor group or not. Maybe you haven't gotten any feedback and they're like 10-minute, right? You're like, whoa, how do I do that, right? You probably have talked to investors that you know their number one question. And if you have a number one question, you want to kind of dive deeper into that question in that 10-minute, because you have time to dive deeper into that question. Or I've seen other entrepreneurs, I've talked about this company a lot, is Tot Squad. They were like a cleaning business for car seats. And one of the biggest questions she always got was, what about liability, right? And business insurance for you, right? Because you're talking about kids, right? And if somebody gets crashed or whatever. So she actually touched on it like 2 seconds in her pitch, because she knew that the first question she always gets, and if there was question and answer, she left it to question and answer. And she had a slide right after her final slide saying, I know that was one of your biggest questions. Here you go. I'm going to go and do 2 minutes on the business insurance instead of wasting 10 minutes in my 10-minute pitch. So you can really be careful on the pitch and Q&A. Ask whoever you're talking to, do you have Q&A time? If you do not have Q&A time, you want to put a little bit more rigor into that 10-minute pitch, as opposed to being strategic and leaving it to Q&A. So that would be my overall kind of feedback on any angel investment group. Any other questions before I go into kind of the outline?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I just misheard you, but when you were saying earlier that there might be non-SDAC investors participating in this process,
Oh, no. Yeah,
that's not right.
no, I was
You were
just
just
saying,
making it general.
yeah. So I wanted to, throughout this 2 hours, I'm going to be answering specific SDAC questions, right? Because that's really like, a lot of you are in the semifinal round, but there are a bunch of you that are not in the semifinal round that might be doing 10-minute pitches elsewhere. So that's the clarity. I'm going to always be
Oh,
those 2 pieces.
so there are members of this group here today who did not get to the semifinals. Is that
Yeah, and
correct?
people who are not even part of SDAC.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
Yeah, it's just all for all of SBDC. So that I'm just being very careful about like not being specific to SDAC, but I'll be as specific as I can. And no matter what those pieces that are not specific to SDAC, it really is part of the SDAC process anyways. Okay. Okay, perfect. Let me share my screen really quick. Oh, I was looking at something else and then I did not do this. Boom. Yes, I do have that. Okay, I'm ready to go now. So most of you have probably seen this ultimate pitch deck template that I have shown like 1,000 times. But I'll walk through it based on the 10-minute pitch because it's the same but more rigor. This is the 12-slide pitch deck that I've been mentioning. Before when I did the 3-minute, I said some of the slides need to be evaluated. All of these slides need to be done for a 10-minute period, right? You might focus on some of them and not focus on others, but these are the tried and true 12 slides for a 10-minute. And then the floater at the end, I'm giving you actually, I not redid the whole thing, but I zhuzhed it a little bit. So I gave you more examples at the end of an executive summary. And then I gave you an example at the end too, and I'll give you this too, as a term sheet, like a not term sheet, but like an ICM, which is an investment committee memo type of scenario as a summary, so that you can have that kind of thought process as well. So I don't have to read this, but basically I'm not a designer. This was just an example of a made up company. I made up the logo myself. I did all the design by myself, but this is actually from a pitch deck of one of our portfolio companies at Astra Ventures. So it's not a made up, let's say, process of a pitch, and she did get investment. So it's kind of fun. So first is obviously your start of your company and your logo. This is something I added from last time. So if you have seen this, you've always seen this one first. So this is an example of having 2 slides of a problem if you want to. This is a bigger problem, right? So this company is basically a platform to make things more efficient for small businesses. So you can start off as the first problem side if you want to go a little bit longer in problem, something higher level, right? It's frustrated business owners and chaotic data architecture and usage, right? That's like 2 main things that there's a problem. You can also go up in your problem set if you want to. And then it's basically the next one is this time and cost problem. That goes towards that funnel of what you are doing. What is your solution? So in the 3-minute, you don't have the luxury of saying something high level and then say a second problem. But in a 10-minute, you have the luxury of saying something larger and then being more specific, and then basically saying your solution is going to solve that very specific problem. And then basically, how do you solve the specific problem? And I kind of added these slides too, so that you know, is that you have a solution that is an enterprise software platform that does these two things, right? In a 10-minute, you do have enough time to kind of describe what that is. And then maybe you don't have to do this all in one slide. You can do it in 1 or 2 slides so that you can quickly get through things and you can pause a little bit longer. Then I went into value proposition like I've done before. You can do value proposition here, or you can do it at the end of your solution. I like to do it at the very beginning, especially with like platforms, is because I take the value proposition words, confidence, control, and clarity, and allow myself to introduce what the product is very quickly. In the 10-minute, you have actually more time to kind of go through the screenshots that you have. So this is confidence. In a 3-minute, I'm flying through this. I'm saying there's confidence, there's some real-time tracking that the customers, because of customer interviews, we've been able to really identify and give them that. That's what I would say in the 3-minute. In the 10-minute, I'm like real tracking. I would maybe point to 2 things. You could also in a 10-minute have arrows to the two, not 10 on a slide, 2, right? Things that you're really having them focus on, so that because you're going longer, they're going to be a little bit more ADHD. So you might want to really focus in on the 2 things you want to focus in on this slide. I would not recommend that for the 3-minute. 3-minute, I would recommend this. So that again, the 10-minute would be again 2 little arrows to the 2 things I want to showcase. Customizable inputs. This is a screenshot that I just grabbed off of Google. It's showcasing it here, and I would have a little arrow saying this is what the customizable input is here, and that they really like to be able to do these ranges because after customer interviews, we realize that ranges are how they work, and how they work better is to be able to customize all these things, and they can't really customize numbers. You could go into that in the 10-minute. Then lastly is clarity. There's a dashboard of some sort. This is another place that you can put little arrows in for the 10-minute to say these are the reasons why these things are call outs, or that we have developed it at this point at this super dashboard piece. I augmented this presentation at the very end to say that in year 3 or year 2 or 3 of the development of the next iteration of this platform, we're going to really polish the dashboard. So if I really am going to say that in the 10-minute, I'm going to be breadcrumbing it here, saying this is what we have right now, but we know that there are other features that our customers really are looking for, and that's what we're using funding for. You can say it here, but that's something to breadcrumb so that when they see it again in the timeline, like 5 minutes later, they're not just like glazed over. So 10-minute pitches are super important to breadcrumb all the way through. And that's basically, I just call it breadcrumb theory, is that you want to be able to breadcrumb, like you leave little breadcrumbs all along your pitch deck and pitch presentation so that you don't lose them in the 10 minutes. The 3 minutes, you're like, and on, you're not going to repeat yourself. In the 10-minute, you can, but you have to be very careful as to the breadcrumbs that you're leaving along the way, so that they really are all like a really beautiful story by the end of it. And then you don't lose somebody in 10 minutes. How big is the opportunity is kind of next is, I gave you 2, and these are the same ones that I have for the other 3-minute. You can do the 10 billion. It's like the dirty slide of saying it's a ginormous market. You can do something like that. And then typically for the 10-minute, sometimes the 3-minute, you don't have time to go through all the TAM, SAM, SOM, but for this 10-minute, you really should be able to walk them through what your thought process was. Investors want to know that you understand the market, that you understand the numbers, and that your SOM equates your 5 to 7 year projection. That's very important. So the 3 minute, you can gloss through it a little bit easier. 10 minute, they're going to ping you for that. So know that you're going to kind of pause here and walk through it a little bit more in the 10 minute. Want to make sure, no, there's no check. Okay. I'll go through the rest of it. How do you get paid? Basically, I changed this a little bit too. The business model for a 10 minute, you can actually augment a little bit of a simplified business model of Plus, Pro, and Enterprise that is very easy to obtain in the 3 minute, to maybe adding CAC, LTV, and ARR if you want to, because you're actually adding more information, but you don't want to add like paragraphs of information. But in the 10 minute, people are obtaining richer information from you. So sometimes by using those numbers, people are calculating it and they're writing it down so that at the end of 10 minutes, they're like, I get the whole picture. And the 3 minute, it's too much data on a slide. 10 minute, it's okay. I also added this, is that the business model could be as easy as B2B, and a B2G. You go B2B first, or you have B2C first and then B2B, whatever that is. I just want to give you 2 examples, and you're just walking them through at the very bottom what that looks like. Business owners seek clarity for teams to make better decisions towards scale. That's why they're buying from us. And government agencies seek automation for more efficient project management. That's why the business model works. That's why they're buying from you. One way of actually adding to the business model, if you want to like put two in one, you might want to add some white logos of the business owners that you are interacting with and the B2G that you are identifying, right? So you can kind of talk about it in the saying, this is our business model, and we have 50 customers that look like these 2, and the B2G is going to be in 2 years, and these are the ones that we have identified. You can say something like that. It's not too much more. Okay, perfect. Somebody said, give me something on the chat. So that's like a little bit of how you can amplify and build rigor in the 10 minute pitch from a 3 minute. The competitive landscape is not really going to change from a 3 minute to a 10 minute. Typically in the 3 minute or 5 minute, you actually put this in the appendix because you don't have time. So in the 10 minute, if you have not gone through your competitive landscape, please, 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 please do it, right? Because that is going to be your first question. That's going to be like, what about the competitors? Who else is doing it? Just go through it as like the plain vanilla type of thing. You want to make sure that they can compare. Have you done the competitive landscape? Are you thinking correctly? Are you thinking about all the competitors out there? If you've had questions specifically, especially in SDAC, about competitors, you want to put that competitor in here and say, I have evaluated it, and these are the reasons why we outcompete the competition. So I gave you 2 examples here. This is the template of a table. And it's basically, I like it to be the company on the left-hand side because I'm seeing features and my company. Encrypted doc storage, project management, check, and all the rest of them are on the right-hand side. I personally prefer that, right? You're going to hear feedback from a lot of different people. Do whatever you want. You're the CEO of your company, right? I just like it because I can see it right there, and then I can see the other competitors in like my peripheral. Then the competitive landscape can be done like this as well. Choose 2 of the most important things that are important to you. I have also seen and have walked through entrepreneurs that after they've gone through some kind of selection process with investors, and investors are like, you know what, the 2 things that they're really good at are these 2 things. And there's maybe conversation about that. Sometimes I've seen entrepreneurs and I've walked them through changing their X and Y axis based on what the investors are giving you feedback about. Whenever you change something in a pitch deck based on investor feedback, that's like an awesome green flag, right? In my book, right? Because, and in a lot of like conscious investors is like, wow, they took our feedback and they actually changed their deck because, wow, it did make sense. And now we're seeing it in a different light and they answered our question. Oh my gosh. Sometimes it's not necessary because it's not correct, which is fine. But if it is correct and they're giving you feedback and you're like, actually, yeah, I can communicate a little bit better in this arena based on the investor feedback and restructure it, go for it. Sometimes you don't have enough time, so it's okay. You don't have to do it. So XY axis on the two things that are the most prevalent and what makes you stand out the most. And you are always on the top right here, your company. And the other companies are staggered across the XY axis. What have you done so far, basically? I did not change this from the last time, but you want to give a timeline of what you've done. Now, when you have a 10-minute, there's a tendency to put everything back in and say, I'm going to cover it all. But again, as I said at the very beginning of this workshop, you have like, if you break it into fourths, you have this like between 3/4 and the 4 out of 4 sections that you're going to go through this. And you might not have enough time, and then you don't get to your team and you don't get to your ask. So just watch out, right? And that's why I love to have it organized in a way that I can go at the very top. I'm like, okay, I've gone from 100 to 500 subscribers. I've gone from a pre-seed round to 5 million ARR. At the bottom, there's some other structure. C Corp established, premium features, and now the seed round was filled by Techstars, Golden Seeds, and Halogen. Great. Like there's an organized structure to this timeline. This is another one that is nice to add in a 10-minute if you have satisfied customers. I got a lot of the questions from some of the entrepreneurs who are CPG related. How do I add that in? This is a good way to just add it in. Sometimes I see like 20 testimonials. Do not do that. Sometimes you can do a testimonial and do it highlighted, ready for anything, like this part right here, ready for anything. Oh, sorry. I would have highlighted if it was, let's say, me redoing this and say, okay, I want to have her and like 2 or 3 other testimonials, but I want the investor to quickly read them, not read all of them and get overwhelmed. This is initial beachhead market is banks, community banks, investment banks, credit unions, and retail banks. But what is next? And you're not going to put this in the pitch deck, right? But this is just a prompt, is an expanded market into imports, exports, healthcare, and insurance. It's a very easy way to showcase that I've thought about it. This is what we're doing. But I added this as a 10-minute. You can do a pipeline of 2024, 2025, 2026. So the other type pipeline was before, and this is pipeline going forwards. Sometimes you can put it all in one slide. It gets a little bit unruly, or you really say, this is what we've been able to accomplish. And the next slide is what our pipeline is going to look like in the future. Again, 10 minutes goes super fast. I just wanted to give you this easy kind of timeline to use if you want to. An experienced team is that you have a great founding team, 2 co-founders. One is a CEO, one is a CTO, and they're coming from these companies. There's 1,000 ways to slice and dice this. A paragraph of where you guys came from is not the way. Either bullets or icons or logos or something is, even in the 10-minute, it allows you to see a bigger picture. But in the 10-minute, you do have time to actually add a team slide. Sometimes you can do a team and all your advisors. Some people who are scientific founders, they have like another slide that they kind of quickly go through in the 10 minutes saying, we have a scientific advisory board and we have a business advisory board. And that is not really discussed in the 3 minutes, but it's quickly kind of showcased that we do have this structure in place that supports our growth as a startup. We have the technical stack and we have the business stack to provide it. So that's an additional, and I didn't add it to this, but that's additional. After you have this team and advisors, you might have another slide that has that advisory. You can showcase it or put it into the appendix. And then traction here is another way of looking at that pipeline, but the traction here is more business traction of demo day. We're featured on this entrepreneur magazine. They won this. Now, there are other feedback from this pitch deck is that you can do the strategic partnerships and exit potentials on a separate slide for 10 minutes. You can do that. Again, just watch your time. You can have partnerships with these people that allow me to have this much pipeline of revenue in the next year. And the exit potentials are in like 3 buckets or something like that, not a paragraph, buckets, bullets, somehow that you can organize what the exit potential is. You can also say, look, there've been a lot of merger and acquisitions in this space, because maybe they don't know the space really well, the investors. And the space is being very actively engaged, and a lot of transactions are happening, and our exit potentials are these 3 companies. You can have that as a slide. And then financial snapshot is, I like a financial snapshot with bullets that explain. And even in a 10-minute, even something like this is easy to understand. It's similar to like the Gus profile financials. If you do have financial projections, make sure, please, especially for SDAC, is that it's the same as what's on your pitch deck on Gus, that's on your downloadable financials, that's on your 10-minute pitch here, and that's on the Gus like little table that you have. Because there are some that I've already seen that are all incongruent, and it's already been discussed by investors, so they're going to ping you for it. Or that you have everything the same, and you're good, and you're going to be able to discuss what the projections are like. So just check it. And that's for everybody who's on any kind of platform and that you're talking to any investor. It just has to all be congruent, because we see so many pitches and so many financial projections. We can ping something that's off, right? That doesn't look the same as something else that we've seen. So it's not that we're ornery. It's more of like we've just seen a lot of it, and we can identify that a lot faster. This is a typical, like what your ask is that you have Series A, you're raising 3 million. The can oversubscribe is something that allows an investor to know that you have actually talked to your board, that you actually have a board, and that you have been approved to oversubscribe your round. When I see this, I'm like, oh, they have a board. That's all it means to me. I really don't care that you can oversubscribe. I'm like, whoa, they have corporate governance. Awesome. It's a convertible note, or a safe, whatever that is. 50% committed by. The reason why I like to add this, and especially for the SDAC people out there, that you're kind of changing, maybe somebody came in the last like 2 weeks because you are actively fundraising, I would be updating this consistently. 25% committed by to new fund, co-fund, Pasadena Angels, whoever that is, you want to add that to this, so that as they're seeing you progress in SDAC or progress in any angel group, that they can see, wow, they are getting commitments, and those commitments are our co-investors that we typically co-invest in. So co-invest with. So just know that it's a very small community of investors. We know everybody. And when we see certain things like this, it's great. Like when I see something, that's why, I created this deck. So Crescent Ridge is our sister organization. They care about conscious capitalism and impact. Awesome. Rethink Impact is more Series A, very, very impact driven VC. Latitude is for Latino founders, and very, they do a lot of due diligence. And Techstars, obviously you've gone through an accelerator, but they took 5% equity. So I already know that even just by seeing this, I know kind of what your cap table kind of looks like. I know a little bit more about like what I can ask for due diligence packages or information, so that I can make my decision faster or better, right? So that's why this is important. Use of funds is typically in percentages, so that we can quickly see, okay, they still have some tech dev to do, interesting, but they're scaling, they need sales and marketing. And then this is the end slide, just have your logo. And then at the very beginning, I said I was going to go through the executive summary. This is executive summary that I've always had for this pitch deck. This is one way that when you're earlier in the pipeline of 3 minute, this is something that investors can take this and say, okay, I can start my evaluation, I can start my deal terms, or I can start my due diligence report, or I can start something to share with the investors in the group. I take this and be like, okay, I need to corroborate this. I need to make sure that this makes sense. Or that you can also do an overview like this, in more about that 10-minute mark, or something that you've already been in the process of fundraising, this terms right here is important. So this looks like more of a term sheet, not term sheet, but a deal memo, right, between investors. So it's like, okay, it's important, the one-liner, the traction, the business model, and the terms. Basically, what have you been able to accomplish? How are you going to make money? And how are we going to make money? Right? So this is one way of changing it up a little bit at the very end to end on this, or the executive summary, whatever you would like to do. But I wanted to introduce this, that this is something that when you are being more evaluated by an investment group, they might be asking all of these things in one place. So this is one way to do it. And that is all I have, and wanted to answer questions about that outline or any parts of it. I'm an open book, and most of you guys know me, so. Anybody have questions?
Sylvia, are we gonna have access to this presentation?
Yeah, it's all recorded, and you'll have access to the slides. And the slides, you're going to get them as Google Slides, so you can just copy them and make them your own. I just
Okay.
wouldn't do like the hexagon, because it's like it's like just a design element that I'm like for over design.
I think it was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Ruth. Questions? Andy, go ahead.
Hey Sylvia, thanks. What do you think about having extra slides at the end of the deck? You know, after you get kind of through, and if you get a question, you might have those slides in the format. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, great question. My answer is yes, but and my answer is always it depends. And I love your product in the background, if it is truly your background. I love it. So if you're tech savvy and you can quickly get to that slide, I would say yes. But if you're going to be hindered by like, oh my gosh, it says number 3, how am I going to get there? And you're dependent on it, I would say no. If you're not dependent on it, it's kind of like a nice to have that if you get to it, great. I would say that's your strategy. Have them there. I always have like a bazillion backup slides whenever I've pitched, because it's just who I am, but I'm not dependent on it, because then it's like, then I get all discombobulated, or they ask me a question. And I'm like, dun, 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 number 20, dun, 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 dun. And then people are like, okay, you're wasting time. And I've seen things fail. So if you do, what I would do though, if you know that first 1, 2, 3, 4 questions that you always get that you can't put in the 10-minute, I would put them as 1, 2, 3, 4, right? I would organize it in tiers, right? Because maybe you will only get to that one slide that that you want to really get to. And if you're practicing also the 10-minute and you have to let go of one slide, I would put that as your first slide. So there's like a strategy. If you have a strategy, yes. If you're dependent on it, no. If it's like a bazillion and you have to no. But it's always nice to have some backups.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Sylvia, do you guys have like a standard of how many slides, a minimum or a maximum for a 10-minute presentation?
Yes, I do. And the answer is it depends. Sorry, my answer is always it depends. Typically, whenever you're kind of estimating, you should estimate 1 minute per slide, right? Because you have enough information on the slide. So that really turns out to be 10. But I just told you you should have 12. And some people have like the first slide is just like, the problem is blah, 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 and you get through with 15 seconds, then you can kind of have 2 slides for the product. So I would just say, overall, you want to estimate 1 minute per like slide topic. Let's say, the product, because I had 4 slides of the product, I would have estimated myself like 1minute and 15. So it depends. Yeah. Any other questions before we have somebody give an example?
Any
Vikas?
yeah, tips and tricks or things not to do during Q&A?
Great question. The number one thing I say is that even if you have 10 minutes of Q&A, answer succinctly. Right? You know, if you, even if you have that longer period of time, because let me just make sure. Because somebody's asking a question because they're curious, right? They're either curious, they want clarity, or they want to go deeper. Those are kind of like the three reasons why they would ask you a question. So the biggest thing is to be able to answer the question succinctly. And that's like a 30-second la 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 la, right? Whatever that is, answer the question specifically, even if it's a long answer. And then maybe go a little bit further on deeper diving, if you feel like that's if that's important. You can also, if it's like a more complicated thing that you could go on for like 15 minutes on, I would do the 30 seconds, la, 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 right? Really carefully and say, does that clarify what you were asking? And that person might say, no. Can you go a little deeper? Then you're like, okay, you're basically controlling the question and answer, right? It's like you assume that they want clarity or rigor, right? So you would say, okay, I've answered that question. Do you need more clarity on this? Then you know it's clarity. If they're like, no, I need a deeper answer, or yes, I'm good, or no, it did not. You're like, okay, the clarity, they need a little bit more clarity, then I can give it to them. So you want to be able to control that Q&A piece, and that quick answer is what they need, because you want to, if you have a room full of investors, right? I mean, at STAC, we have like 60 or something like that, 60 or 70. You want to get to everybody's question. So if you can get quicker through these questions, then you can get everybody answered, which is fantastic, right? But I would say that if somebody is on a Zoom call with investors, not STAC that's live, it's harder to get through that question and answer. You might want to go a little bit longer because people are kind of ramping up to what your answer is. And in a Q&A, if you do have it in the chat, let's say if you have it in a Zoom chat, you want to repeat the question. So those are like the tips and tricks. The same thing maybe in a live thing, if it is that they have a microphone and they have said the question succinctly, then you don't have to repeat it. But if they haven't, and it's like somebody up front and you only heard them, you want to say, okay, the question was blah, blah, blah. And that actually allows you to reframe the question based on how you can answer it a little bit, right? If they're like, oh, the market, like, oh my gosh, I love your market. It's the best thing. You know, I was an experience, blah, blah, blah. And the market is blah, 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 all this stuff. And the question is like very small. You're like, oh, how am I going to answer that? You're like, actually, the question is, and you reframe it based on what you assume. And the person's like, thumbs up. You're like, yes, I can go with that route. Done. And then you can answer it. So no matter what, I think if it's in person or on Zoom, you want to reframe it.
If you want to go deep or somebody else wants to go deep and you don't have time, is it fine to say, talk to me afterwards? Or
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't answer it as that will take me a long time. Can we answer it later? The investor is asking you that question because they want a quick answer, because you are the founder market fit. You are the founder invention fit, everything, right? So you need to be able to answer it succinctly, that they're like, okay, he or she can answer it. And then if they need to go deeper, you're like, look, I can answer, like basically answer a little bit more. And if you need more clarity or more deeper information, we can talk afterwards. Because you'll kind of see that if there's a scientific person who's asking you the question, they really want to go deep, but the rest of the room could care less, right? You don't want to lose the rest of the room. So you need to be that CEO, right? That business science person that says, I'm going to answer the scientific question because I need to, right? Because I can, and I need to. I'm going to connect that to the commercialization or go-to-market strategy that I have. Okay. And if I need more clarity, you're like, actually, it's a scientific question. I can answer it again super quickly and then offline. Or if it's a commercialization question, I can go down the business side. I can say commercialization, blah, blah, blah. We've been able to meet with some partners. We've been able to know that the science actually works, blah, blah, blah. But we need to make sure that there is a proof of concept, and we have to go to a hospital to do that. And we are applying for SBIR. So you're really expanding out, not deep science, but you're expanding out the commercialization. And that's what the investors be like, he knows what he's talking about. Right? Other questions? Does anybody want to give their 10 minutes? And we will stop recording. Nataraj.
I can give the presentation.
Okay. I love that, Nataraj. I love it. We usually meet at 6 o'clock in the mornings. So I actually see him at a decent hour of the day. There's actually sunlight. So it's nice to see you in the sunlight. Nataraj.
Yeah.
You can go ahead. Would you rather us cut this portion to not have it on YouTube?
That's fine. Let's go viral. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Sounds good. We will do what you need to. You know that I will not put you in any bad light. I will always put you in the best light possible. So
Yeah.
Let's share your screen.
Yeah.
And for the founders out there who are listening, this is a chance for you to see somebody else's. Put your little investor hat on. Say, has Nataraj actually given me enough to make an investment? Think about the 10-minute being a decision, and we see your presentation mode. Is that okay?
Yeah.
With notes.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just know that this is like his way of doing it like this. Put your little investor hat on and say, okay, two ways. One is, would I make the investment because maybe this is the last time that I look at this pitch and I need to go into due diligence? Or do I put them forwards to the next round, which might be a 30-minute presentation? So have your little investor hat on. There's the 5 M's of investing, right? So management, market, money, momentum, and market. I think that did I say market twice? Anyways, those 5 M's. Make sure that he's check marking all of them so that you can evaluate that company really well. And that's like that plain vanilla piece, is that all investors are evaluating Nataraj next to a CPG, next to a SaaS platform. So all of that means that it's important. So yeah, Vikas, he said that was okay to do the presenter mode. So let me just make sure, give me a second. I want to pin Nataraj. Perfect. Can you see the presentation? Everybody, I can see it. Perfect. Go ahead, Nataraj.
Thank you, Sylvia, for giving the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Nataraj Pagadala, founder and CEO of Ligron Bio. Actually, Ligron Bio is interested to do molecular glue optimization of RAF1 degradation to treat multiple cancers with unmet medical needs. So the overall summary is that we have a very strong team. The revenue is 71.18 billion revenue for next 5 years. And there is a very big opportunity of 8,602 billion market for molecular glue. And we are raising $4 million as a pre-seed round. So investment highlights, as I said, market opportunity is 8,602 billion with a revenue growth of 8.171 CGR. Cancer deaths, 10 million patients die every year, and a competitive advantage is AI-powered proprietary technology. So the problem is that approximately 20% of all the human cancers is due to KRAS RAFs interaction. And in this 20%, 15% of RAF1 is expressed in multiple cancers. And because of the 15% of expression, increased RAF mutation and dimerization happens, which is extremely hard to develop drugs by traditional strategies. The solution is AI-powered cell GDM platform to rationally design molecular glues for undruggable targets. So that means that the undruggable target means no binding pockets to traditionally designed drug molecules in oncology and CNS diseases for the therapy of individuals with unmet medical needs. And innovative LTAG assay for real-time kinetics and ubiquitination process. So the technology is AI-powered cell GDM platform. There are 8 layers of the technology, starting with the ternary complex formation and the Degron ensemble, amino acid side chain optimization, structural matrices, optimizing molecular glue lengths, chemical synthesis, pharmacology, and everything integrated to machine learning and artificial intelligence. So the POC concept, we have developed a compound, lead compound, LIB11. So degrading RAF1 up to 38% at 24 hours after a single dose at a micromolar concentration. So we have seen RAF1 degradation the first time in the history of molecular glue out of box. That Ligron Bio has developed a molecular glue for RAF1 beyond any other company that was developed by molecular glue till today. So the competition, there is a rational approach. There are many companies working on molecular glue development, which is of rational approach. And also there is no rational approach, traditional approach, and unknown approach. So all these companies, some of the companies like Monterosa Therapeutics, Degron Therapeutics, they're also AI-based, Degron-based. But Ligron Bio is the first company that has done with advanced parameters based, including molecular glue kinetics, mechanism-based, Degron-based, ensemble-based, amino acid-specific based, and structural matrices compared to all the other existing companies worldwide. So the business model is approximately SOM 71.18 billion with average patient initial care of 43,516 and a projected revenue by 2021 is 16.48 billion. So the market opportunity is, there is a very big market opportunity of 8,602 billion with a growth rate of 8.71 CGR and unmet need. Current treatment options for RAF1 associated cancers are limited, creating an unmet medical need for innovative and targeted therapies for a wide range of malignancies. So the market analysis, the total available market TAM is greater than 80%. Surveys available market is lower than 75%, and my target market is 50%, and my market share is 30%. Strengths, we have a highly experienced team in molecular glue modality. The weakness is that lack of sophisticated equipment, and it treats not all the undruggable targets have crystal structures, and the opportunity is highly advanced and reliable softwares to build protein models that can be leveraged to increase the performance of cell GDM. So market sizing, approximately the company valuation is 20 million, and the 10 million is for divided into 2 sections for the cell GDM platform, and AI-powered cell revolutionary tech product transforming 8 billion market, and a 10 million molecular glue lead molecule, where there is an opportunity of a 4 trillion market, vast opportunity for the investors, and 50% is a target market share. So the traction is lead compound 11 paving the way for RAF1 CRAF degradation. NSF got invited for advanced research excellence through full proposal submission, and Ligron Bio also accepted for pitching under the Startup Zone, the Festival of Biologics San Diego. Also, I was given 2 interns by Jensen Company for developing a molecular glue platform. So the growth strategy is market expansion, product diversification, strategic alliances, operational efficiency, and customer retention. So exit strategy, we have 2 exit strategies. One is acquisition, either BMS or Merck, between 5.8 billion to 10.8 billion, or technology transfer to BioVia, which is a $1 trillion company, which is already invited for technology transfer discussion. So the roadmap, we already incorporated Ligron Bio in Delaware, and 2024, we are going for raising 4 billion as a pre-seed for molecular glue optimization and synthesis and advanced experimental studies on RAF1. By 2025, we would like to go for a seed round of 15 to 20 million for drug candidate nomination, high key personnel, building infrastructure. And by 2026, we would like to go for Series A with 25 to 50 million. And by 2027, we'd like to go for partnership deals, drug licensing, and a partnership platform licensing. These are the financial projections for the next 5 years based on 8.71 CGR. By 2021, as I said, it is a 16.48 billion market for RAF1 molecular glue. So we are asking 4 million, and the use of funds, 2.5 million for product development, 1 million for manufacturing and scaling, and 1 million for regulatory compliance and IP protection, and then 500K for founders' employee salaries. So key people in our team, myself, founder, president, and CEO, and Siraj as a principal scientist, Crystal Biosciences, Dilip as a senior scientist, and we have both national and international scientific advisory board, highly expertise in molecular glues and other immunology and also computational chemistry. So please contact us. This is Nataraj Pagadana, ligronbio.com. My number is 412-863-3812. Thank you very much.
Get some water. You did good, Nataraj. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very
That's
much.
awesome. So good. You were at 7 minutes 18.
Okay. Okay.
So you have a little bit more time if you're going to do like a 10-minute. I don't know what you're, going after, but the typical 10-minute, let's say you have a little bit more time. So I would just slow down. I would not add anything because I know you. Don't add anything.
Sure. Thank you. This was this presentation was given based on a 5-minute pitch that for tomorrow that I'm going to speak with present in the Chinese investors, right? So tomorrow evening. So based on that, I'm presenting like that.
Good. I love that. Does anybody have any kind of comments? Yes, Ruth, go ahead.
I do, because I also have an accent. One of my concerns is to be in, as a Mexican, we speak very fast. So Nataraj, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I thought that at some points you were talking too fast that I couldn't keep up. And as recommended by Sylvia, I had my investor hat and I was thinking, okay, I really need to be like really paying attention and following the slides, but at some point you were talking too fast, I couldn't understand. So I'm just thank you, because I think it's a great presentation. It's just that like someone actually different people had mentioned, recommend that to me, not going too fast, because then people don't understand. But I think you have a great presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Go ahead. Wait, Vikas or Deep? I don't know.
Oh, go ahead, Deep. I'll go next.
Oh, sorry. I just accidentally unmuted. I'm good, Sylvia.
Okay. Vikas.
Yeah, Nataraj, one way to actually to save time and to speak less is you don't need to, I think, read out each individual number.
Okay.
You can just use shorthand. So, instead of saying 8,602 billion, you can just say 8.6 trillion, and it flows better. And I think the other thing is, and I don't have a bio background, so I may not be your target market here. But I think something up front that just describes what a molecular glue is, or what exactly, maybe even just describing what undruggable means, so that you can show that why this is a need, right? So like, and again, I'm not a bio person, but if you could say something like, undruggable targets mean that the cancer can't be treated with current technology, right? Something that simple. just makes me understand that, like, okay, these are cancers that can't be treated. Got it. And then I move on.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you.
Okay, as you know, go up to the front, to the top. And the comments that I'm going to be making, also I'm going to be very conscious about making them kind of broad for everybody in the room. So it's not just for Nataraj, and it's very typical to a lot of different conversations. So love that you leaned into the summary. Thank you. I feel like the slide 2 and 3 were both summaries. So either use one or the other.
Okay. Sure. Sure.
So that's one thing. So for everybody in the room, whenever you have, let's say, revenues like this, and you brought this up, Vikas, is the market opportunity, you were saying 8.8602 billion. Even in a slide deck, even if you had that number and you said 8 trillion, I would ask you to change the number to 8 trillion market opportunity.
Okay.
Because whenever you're going through a 10-minute pitch, and any pitch, is that the investor is looking from top left to bottom right. So if you're starting to talk, I'm kind of watching the strong team, 71, and then you're like, oh, 71 revenue. But if you even say 72 billion revenue, I'm looking for 72. I don't see it
Okay.
anywhere, right?
Okay.
So I would do two things. One is do that as 71 billion as the
Okay.
revenue, right?
Okay.
And say 71 billion. And then the market opportunity is 8.6 trillion.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, so that's for anybody in the room. If you have like 8.623, no, don't do that. Just put the,
Okay.
summarize it to 8.6 or even just 8 if you want to. And whatever you say out loud, it needs to match what's on the slide, because that person needs to land on that number. Okay. So
Okay.
that's one thing. Slide number 3. Let's see, the one above the investment. I just want to make sure everything was fine there. Yeah, like the 10 million patients die per year. Yeah, you want to change that, but like 10 million would be how you would say it, because I think you said 10 million instead of the 10,000, 10,000,000,000,000. So
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
And I find a lot of people who are doing lots of edits and stuff like that on their decks, just make sure that you have a $ in front of the market opportunity and not $ in front of the patients. I've seen that so many times, because you've said you've done your pitch 1,000 times and you're like, don't have the $ where you are. So just like do an audit at the end saying, do I have all my $ in the right place? So that's just like a easy thing to do. Okay, next up. Okay, not 2 slides in front. Okay, that's that. Yeah, this is when it gets to the RAF1 and stuff like that. And this type of thing, you just have to be really, really slow.
Okay.
Because it's
Sure.
very hard to understand if you don't understand it.
Okay.
One thing too is that the pictures of the hand and are distracting to me, because like when I get to the platform, you use the hand again, I want to just see the platform. I know you're trying to make it pretty. I feel like it's it doesn't like add to my my understanding of what you're doing.
Okay. Okay.
I know you're trying, right? But for me, it was distracting. Okay.
Okay.
Next is solution. And that goes into because you recommended definitions. So I'll kind of want to attack the definitions for everybody. Is that if you do have a can you go to your solution slide? This is when you use undruggable. And you probably start using molecular glues at this point. You did say no binding pockets to traditional design drugs. That doesn't really mean anything to a lot of people. So one way of doing it is you can have it on the slide as a little definition bubble, if you want to, if it's very hard to understand, or that you can do like Ruth recommended to go slower, right? So you're going to say your statement, blah, 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 right? And then say, just an aside, the definition of an undruggable is this, but you have to pause. You can't just be like, and all the way through, right?
Okay,
So
okay.
that is one way to define things in your
Okay.
pitch.
Okay.
The other way is not to use the hard words, but you really cannot not use undruggable.
Okay.
So anybody who's pitching, you have to realize, am I using a word that I have to use because it's scientific and I need to define it, or can I dumbify it to something that is less thing? I know, like, my PR person, even when I went on TV on Monday, we were kind of practicing certain things, and I'm like, okay, it's about access to capital events. And she goes, just say funding. Like, don't
Okay.
say access to capital. I was saying something else, and just funding. Just use smaller words in front of TV. I'm like, okay, so I don't have to define what does an access to capital event means. It's to get funding from investors through
Okay.
events, right? I mean, I would love to say access to capital, but
Sure.
I was like, no, I need to, like, not have to define that. So just think about it as you're going through. Is there a word that I can do a synonym for that everybody else knows? You are going to be, and then another thing is for everybody is Nataraj is pitching in front of Chinese investors who are life science, right?
Yeah, biotech industry.
Yeah, they're biotech specific. So know your audience, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
great point, Vikas, about, defining, know your audience of, like, if it is a bunch of life sciences and they only invest in undruggable stuff, they're going to know that. But no matter what, you should be able to just quickly at the very beginning say undruggable means this, because then there might be some scientists out that they're like, not all undruggable are undruggable. Like, they're going to be like, their definition might be slightly different than yours. So it's always nice to know your audience, know that you're not going to dumbify it so much that they don't feel like you're, like, being condescending, right? And then enough that people can follow you.
Sure.
Cool?
Sure.
That's for everybody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very, like, generic,
Yeah.
and instructional, even going through Nataraj's thing. So this is great. I know that you changed it a little bit with AI powered Selgenium platform, AI powered, which was great. And then the assay, right? So because there's a lot of things on the slide and you have that green of no binding pockets, and pockets is also capitalized, do not capitalize, is you could do a highlight of assay and AI powered platform. You could do something like that. That's for anybody who has maybe a paragraph you want to either highlight or italicize or something, platform, CPG product, medical device, whatever is in, let's say, a statement, you might want to highlight or do something with that so that people know the solution is this, because you want them to repeat, not that they're not going to remember Selgenium like I do because I've seen you 1,000 times, but, like, you want that investor to say tomorrow in an investment meeting, oh, that AI powered assay company, I love them, right? You don't want to be like, who was that? I can't even remember what they did. Is it, and, like, with, like, no nasty, I always go back to, as you know, I've been saying CPG so that I know that you're there. And also with Ruth and her neat sheets, is that it's easy. CPG is easy, right? You're like, I am a blah. But even CPG, sometimes we're like, what is it? Is it like like coffee roasting, right? I am investing in a lot of coffee roasters. So, well, one, coffee roasting, what is it? Is it coffee roaster? Is it brew bags? Is it like bags? Is it whatever? Make sure that you're being very specific.
Okay.
Do you have any questions, Andy, about, like, where you were at with CPG and this solution slide, maybe?
No, I think I think, are you saying relative for me or relative?
Yeah, relative for you.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean,
you do a really good job. I'm just saying that I want to make sure everybody's positioned for success.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay, and then the next one is this one. Now, this is an example of for everybody to know. So as an investor, we have seen like 1,001 pitches. If you see number one, the ternary complex modeling, I see the box, the red box that the text is in, and it hovers over his little diagram. Does everybody see that? Thank you, Andy. That needs to be, but even, I mean, no matter what, know that investors can see that kind of stuff all the time, and it bothers. Like, it's like glaring. So anything that is a little bit design wise that you're like, oh, they're not gonna want to see that, they're gonna see it. So just, that's like tip number one. Have everything kind of in its order. If something is a little bit off, they will see it. I see every single one of them. And also like spelling errors. He doesn't have any, but I'm just saying that that's something that is important. At this, oh no, at competition, he was at 2 minutes 47. So I did have that written down. But I really like this. Nataraj has worked on this quite a bit. So he did go through the whole thing. And you do have time. I would say that Nataraj, one thing just content wise is that you do go through this. You did not, I don't think you said patent. So make sure this is a AI powered patented platform that, and kind of define it a little bit, that has this 8 process that they all work together, or say something that's very high level. So that when you go into like, look, it's about assembly, it's about matrices, it's about this, they can follow you, but they don't get lost in like, I don't even understand what he's talking about because I didn't see the bigger picture. So I want you to paint that bigger picture, because you already did in the solution, but like when you're kind of like as a microscope, you're going to go down into the microscope, define the microscope, like the first layer, then define it more later on. You know what I mean? And as you're going deeper. Okay, next one. Next. This is just like this is fine. I mean, it's just, you have to go through it. That's fine. Next up, competition. So this is something that I would get out the picture. Because you have so many logos and going through so much, I want that to be like bigger. I want the whole thing to be bigger so I can really evaluate it. Sure. And you have rational approach. I don't know what the difference is. And then you have rationale design and traditional approach. So I don't know what the XY axis actually is. So just be very specific as to what the X and the Y axis is for anybody who's using this type of thing. I love the XY axis. I love it. But if I don't see it very clearly stated what the X and Y axis is, then I get lost. So you need to be very clear when you're doing the XY axis to anybody in the room, really identify it and be as, and sometimes people do 2 X's and 1 Y, like it's clear and sustainable. And the other one is cheap, right? Whatever that is, make sure you're really, you pause, you define. The 2 things that we really outcompete our competition is this and this, right? And like define that and then go in all the details. Okay. Perfect. And that's for everybody on that aspect. And you were at 2 minutes 47 at this point. So you were at what slide is this? Slide number what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Slide 7. And you were at 2 minutes 47, like 3 minutes. So you are flying. You're flying through these. So that's what Bruce thinks. So if you're like evaluating your pitch and you are already at like, if you're already at like 10 slides and you've already done it for 3 minutes, there's something you're doing wrong, right? Either that you're like have like a build slide, which is fine. But if you're at like 3 minutes and you're already at 10 slides, you're flying. So you need to base how do I decrease the amount of slides or the decrease amount of text to get me to a realistic, think about 1 minute per slide or 30 seconds per slide. In a 10-minute, right? So that was that. Okay, next is business model. And I want to see if we can get to it. Does anybody else want to pitch their 10-minute? So we can, and again, we cannot have it public. Okay, think about it. I need one more person. So start calling on people. I'm just kidding. You guys have to tell me. So business model, I still, at this point, I think you need to think about this a little bit differently of how are you going to make money? So it's average patient initial care per year. Is that what you're going to get from each patient?
No, actually, basically there are 2 ways of business model. One is acquisition and technology transfer. So this is how the drug molecule is going to make money based on some.
Yeah. So I need to know how you are going to make money. So that's a
Okay.
little bit, I like this because it's more patient centric, but I still
Mhm.
don't know how you're gonna make money in licensing or not. I don't know that. So that is something that needs to be either added or
Yeah.
described, because I know you have a quick turnaround, described in your pitch.
Okay.
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 You can say this is an ideal for the patient, but you need to
Okay.
put a layer on how you are gonna make money
Okay. Sure.
to,
Sure.
to the
Sure.
investors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, next up.
Yeah. Market opportunity.
Yeah, market opportunity. Well, this is something that you go into later about TAM, SAM, and SOM. So I think you need to reevaluate a little bit about these two slides and make sure that you're saying not the same thing.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's that. Next up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So typically TAM, SAM, and SOM are numbers, everybody, dollar signs, with your SOM being your 5-year projection. So this
Okay.
is a little bit different than what we see. I would change them all to numbers.
Okay.
Right? I know you have them, so that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking you.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So, and then the next one is the SWOT analysis. This is typical to a business model. Who's seen a SWOT analysis? I just want to make sure that everybody, yeah. So most of you guys have. You can add this. It's kind of nice to have it. It's not a must-have, right? So if you're trying to figure out like, how do I communicate my value proposition or my competitive advantage or something, and you want to add this, that's fine. It's just not something typically that we see in a pitch, but you can do it for 10 minutes. Deep, yeah, what's up?
Yeah, Sylvia, so one question here, could this go instead of the competitive landscape? For example, if you put strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities, could we potentially put some of our competitors in one of those buckets here? Like, for example, instead of putting it, as you had suggested, the X and Y axis,
Yeah, you can. I believe that and this is just like my opinion, right? If you do this and you ask the competitive landscape, you're going to get the competitive landscape question. Who else is doing this? So either be prepared in Q&A to answer that question, right? Saying, okay, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to do it. But I don't think it truly replaces. I think this is more like your competitive advantage is awesome. Like lack of sophisticated equipment. Great. That's a weakness in the marketplace. No, that's you, right? A highly experienced team. Yeah. Weakness is lack of sophisticated equipment. Your strength is highly experienced team and molecular glue modality. I think this is nice after, let's say, the ask or right before you end or something like that. Or right before the team to say, like, this is what we're doing really good, but to replace this for competition, no.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
And I need to drop, Sylvia. Thank you as always for everything. And I'm sure at some point we'll get a copy of the 3 minutes so we can learn from it. From the
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take.
Bye. Okay, market sizing, and let's see what else. This is market analysis. That's 5 minutes. Yeah, this is the same thing as that one, market analysis, and the other market opportunity. There's 3 of them that are kind of saying the same thing. So just be careful.
Okay.
Okay. Traction. I loved traction. That's when I started coming back into the conversation, right, with you, right? So I like this. I think this is what makes you stand out. And you need to bye, Adam. You need to come back and see how you can talk about traction more, and make sure that you're talking about all the traction that you have.
Okay.
Okay. Growth strategy. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
This is great. I like it. It's very surface, so it's fine to say like I have thought about everything, but you might get the question of what is your true go to market strategy. That's more like defined in what you are doing, not just really collaboration and streamlining process. That's all good, right? You've thought about it, but what is specific to you, they might ask you.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Next one, exit strategy. I loved it. That's when, again, like, love that you were very specific. that we are talking to these people, and these are the targeted exit acquisition targets. That's very, like, if you have this type of slide, anybody who's listening, this is really nice to be able to say, what have you evaluated as the best exit strategy for you? And if there is a tech transfer play, have it very plain and simple this way. This is very easy to obtain, to understand, and to say he's actually evaluated, he's realized it, and he's going to do it. Okay, next up, the roadmap sounds really good. Everything else is good. I don't have any other yeah, the ask, let's see, the ask, which is probably the next one. Usually we see the ask not in these like bubble things, it's more in a pie chart, because it's just easier to understand. And for everybody in the room too, is that I think Nataraj, you were saying 2.5, 1, 1, and 5, but if mostly investors are doing it in percentages, right? And so the percentages are 22, 22, 45, and 11. I can't calculate that in my head. So that's why in the pie chart, it's nice to have like the percentage, and you can even do 20 at 1 million. Like, it really, is somebody really going to do the math? Probably, yes, but it's there's going to be changes to this. The second thing is for everybody too, if you do have tiers, if you're saying we're going to be raising $1 million for the first 6 months, and then 4 million for the rest of it, then talk about that as tiers, not as a whole round. So just want to, I don't know what you're doing, Nataraj, but that's what I would recommend for people.
Sure.
And then, oh yeah, the advisor, the next one, the team. Good job on working on the team slide. It's come a long way. Good job. I would say that if the right-hand side is advisors, I would label it as advisors.
Okay.
So that there's like a clear understanding of who's who.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. Perfect. Okay. I hope everybody kind of got something out of that quick review of his pitch. Anybody else who would like to do their 10-minute or even their 3-minute and see where you're at?
So Sylvia, I was looking right now at my pitch deck. For some reason, Canva is not letting me have access. I have the other one right now. I was checking to see if I could do it. It's letting me have access to one, the long one. It's the one, remember we review, you gave me feedback and I deleted some stuff. So I don't know if you will want me to do that one if no one else volunteers. But I just want to let you know that this is not the editing that I did after your guys' advice.
Yeah, no, let's just do it. Let's have another, does everybody want to have another example? We're at 3:30. Another example would get us at 3:40, and then we can go through, and this is CPG. So it's a very different company. Yep, let's do it.
Okay.
If you're going, Ruth, if you're going more than 10 minutes, I will just say 10, just because we don't want to have it like a 30-minute presentation, right? So I don't know how long it is.
Well, okay. Oh, it says the screen sharing has failed to start. Please try again later.
Okay, try it again.
No, it's giving me an error code. Screen sharing. Should I leave and log back on?
Yeah, try that. And I will answer some questions now and give you some, so you want to make sure that she's going in and out. You saw a couple of things, right? In this 10-minute. People who are investors do have ADHD, a lot of them. So having a pitch that is longer, you want to make sure that you have a story that allows them to follow you through. So I've talked about the breadcrumb theory, is that you want to start off the presentation. Obviously, you're not going to repeat yourself 1,000 times, but you want to anchor a couple of things throughout the pitch deck that when they at the very end, they're like, oh, I see the big picture. We're raising a certain amount of money. You know, this is $500,000, right? Let's say you're raising 500,000. Throughout the pitch, you could say something like this: manufacturing, that's what we're going to use of funds for. So then at the end, when you say 500,000, it makes sense to them. Other ways of doing it is breadcrumbing of customers, saying the customer looks like this. Then you're going to say the customer later on is, how many do we have? We have 20 customers. So people know that that's like who you're serving and the size that you're serving. We've seen also that TAM, SAM, and SOM. So the SOM, which is total addressable market, serviceable addressable market, and serviceable obtainable market is the O. All of those pieces, the last one, SOM, needs to equate to your 5 to 7 year projection number. So it's not percentages, it's numbers. Oh, go ahead, Katarina, if you have a question while Ruth gets organized.
Hi. Yeah, sorry, I can't. Yeah, like kind of. So yeah, my question is, I just applied to San Diego Angel Conference pitch. I mean, I applied our pitch deck. We didn't select it. Can I have some feedback? Why? What happened? I want a pitch right now, but I'm with my baby right now.
Yeah, no,
So,
yeah, I know. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get feedback on SDAC. You can book some time with me if you want. I will share my link to book. If you don't mind not booking until Tuesday on, because I have all of the semifinals that I need to get prepped before Tuesday. So if you'll see some weekend time frame. So if you don't mind not picking those and picking them after Tuesday, that would be fantastic. And I can go through with you the feedback on your pitch, on your GUST profile, because at SDAC and many other angel groups, there's multiple different things that we're looking at. So for SDAC, we look at the GUST application, we have your executive summary, we have your pitch deck, we have your entire profile. And then as you're going through, we see your 3-minute, we see your 10-minute. So there's a lot of evaluation that is being done by multiple angel investors, but we also have feedback on the GUST profile at the very bottom that you don't see, but I see, and how people vote on you and what they think about your market. There's like 4 evaluations. Let me just get here. I want to make sure I don't say it right. I want to say it right. 4 things that we look at: market, product and services, management team, and terms. Those are the 4 things that we're scoring out of. We have like 5 little stars that we evaluate. So those 4 we evaluate, and you can get that feedback from any advisor, but I will put my link right now as Ruth is coming up.
Sylvia's letting me,
Thank you.
it's giving me the same error code 105035, and it says just keep to try again later. So I already tried several. It's not letting me.
Stephen, do we have a way to do this? Stephen, can you send it to me?
Let me see.
Ruth,
No,
send it to me.
That would probably be the easiest solution.
Yeah, okay.
I'm looking into that error code right now.
Okay, thank you.
okay.
And here's my link in the chat for everybody. And again, please do not, if you're not a semifinalist, please do not take the weekend timeframes. Take them after Tuesday, if you don't mind. But if you're a semifinalist at SDAC, please take those if you want to.
After next
Sylvia,
Tuesday, right? Just
What?
after
how
next
do-
Tuesday.
This Tuesday. They're pitching. They're pitching on the 12th.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
So how do we know if we're finalists?
For SDAC, you should have received an email.
So I receive an email and okay. Okay. Let me share this with you.
That's my
Email.
yeah, I sent you my email.
Right.
Perfect. Let's see.
Okay, I just sent it.
Okay. Okay, here it is. I have it. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. There we go. This is it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just get myself organized here.
So I wanted to do the same thing that Nataraj did. Like I wanted to be editing, but
Yep.
anyway. Okay. You tell
And you
me.
just say next slide and I'll put it forwards.
Okay. Time myself.
Before we start, Ruth, are you okay having this recorded, or would you like me to pause it?
Recorded.
Okay.
Okay. Do I start now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Next slide. Housekeeping can be a dangerous and exhausting job. These attendants make up to 28 beds daily. They change physical positions up to 8,000 times during their work shift. This can be dangerous, and it's not just my experience or opinion. Next slide. Oh, yes, this is not it. Okay. It is time consuming. It's an inefficient process while making the beds with flat sheets. Is difficult to use fitted sheets because many times they don't fit. You have to lift up the mattress and multiply that by 28 times while making the beds. The speed up and time pressure is what causes injuries among these workers, making it hazardous. Next slide. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, making beds is the #1 cause of injuries among these workers. As a result, over $1 billion results in losses annually. Next slide. Hi, I'm Ruth Loaesa, former housekeeper and inventor of niche sheets. I have worked in the housekeeping and hospitality industries for over 23 years. I have made the beds over 20,000 times. I know exactly what is wrong when it comes to making beds. Next slide. Niche Sheets is ergonomic, patented full line of linen system solutions. It reduces the musculoskeletal negative impact among these workers. It simplifies the stressful and challenging task of making the beds. It can result in decreasing insurance costs among multi-bed industries. Next slide. The benefits of using niche sheets versus other linens is that the productivity increases by 53%, meaning that a room attendant can gain over 1 hour in time savings. In a hotel of average 100 rooms can save over $47,000 a year. Next slide. Niche sheets reduces the mattress lifting efforts by 75%, meaning that a room attendant will lift that
Did she freeze or is it me?
I believe she's frozen.
She frozen.
Okay. Sorry. She might have to come back in. Did she get out? Oh, my God. I think she got kicked out. Anyways, we'll wait for her to come back in. I'll go through a couple of things as we're having her come back in. So she was very clear on let's say these bits right here of, and you'll see that this is very different than Nataraj is, and this is something that is a great way of introducing yourself, is that you oh, Ruth is back. Okay. Ruth, you want to go ahead? We can't hear you, Ruth.
Sorry. Need sheet is a full line of, oh, okay. We have revolutionized the design on the bed sheets. We have got rid of the elastic band at the bottom and incorporate 4 hospital corners for the easy bottom bed sheet. That is the one that replaces the fitted sheet. And on the flat sheet, we incorporated 2 hospital corners. All of this allows for the bed sheet to be put onto the mattress within seconds, depending on the experience of the room attendant. And it reduces the physical, the repetitive motions among the workers. Next slide. Next slide. So I already shared those, right?
Yes, yeah, they're just, what was, do you want to do this one next?
Okay, so next slide. That's the previous one. Our competitive landscape. We are targeting the hospitality. We're targeting as well the healthcare and B2C markets. The B2C market is $103 billion. We so far know that the hospitality and healthcare industries as well are in the billions, and we have made sales in these 3 markets. The market lacks of innovation. Need sheets brings is a game changer, bringing a plethora of bed linens that decreases the bed making time. And the next slide. Need sheets focuses on efficiency, productivity, and injury reduction, opposed to our competitors. We will focus on hotels that values the well-being and wellness of their workers. They're also inclined to invest in products to enhance efficiency, and they are hotels that implement methods to reduce injury among their staff. Our competitors focus on faster delivery and lower prices. Next slide. We have a robust portfolio of intellectual property within United States and internationally. We are a trademark company. We have multiple channels of distribution, meaning we have made sales in the hospitality, healthcare, B2C. We are currently in conversations with a large laundry facility that provides linens to hotels and casinos. We have established supply chain with almost 100 years of experience that sells nationally and internationally. Next slide. That's a video, and I don't know if you guys would like to see. is less than 2 minutes. We can either skip or you can play it. These are our current clients. They're mostly in the hospitality industry, but Canyon, it's a elderly care facility. We also have another called Welcome Call with a niche within the handicap field. We had made over $75,000 in sales with zero marketing. And next slide. We are targeting hotels, resorts, hospitals, elderly care facilities, and also we have done research and we already have targeted the a list of well-regarded hotels that focuses on the previous things that I mentioned. We are looking right now into a ergonomic study that will be conducted by Ohio State University. We're looking to collect scientific data that proves that niche sheets reduces damage physically among the workers. And we believe that if we can prove this, we can also get a union endorsement, which can result as these unions can mandate the acquisition of niche sheets among these industries. Next slide. Just to give you an idea, a 1% of the Vegas market will result just purchasing the queen bed sheets only and $850,000. Next slide. Our future roadmap. We are focusing right now in mostly packaging, development, and customer acquisition. We're looking to develop niche sheets and higher quality fabric so we can approach the B2C market or the hospitality high-end hotels. Next slide. Our amazing team combines over 150 years of experience in different parts of our business. Next slide.
I don't know why it's not going forwards. Is that it?
I thought that there was more. I have
No, that's it. I think.
okay. Well, yeah, it's not the one I shared, so that's why I was all over the place.
It's all good. It's all good. No, it's good to go through and just at least go through it. You were at like 11:20, but then you went in and out. So I would say you're at like 10 minutes with what you talked about. And I think this is a great kind of overall 10-minute pitch. Everybody on the call knows like this is exactly what we went through. It's the problem, solution, market, traction, team, financials, where she's at, the progress that she's done. So all of it is there, right? So well done on that. And that just, and that 3-minute is probably half of this. I know Ruth's 3-minute. So, so just for you to have an example of what this looks like. Let me go through any questions off the top or any comments before we start, because I only have about 9 minutes.
Sure, I got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey Ruth, I from a fellow CPG brand owner to another, I really love your product. I think you've done an amazing job so far, and I think that, you know, depending on how it all rolls, I'm you know, my whole background is a lot of corporate trademark licensing and all that. So if you need some help, I think there might be an easier path for you through licensing sooner than later. So if you want to connect sometime, I'm more than willing to and happy to help you, because I think you got something pretty cool and you've got amazing IP. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's great. Ruth, take that on.
Yes.
So one thing that I want to say up front is that you see in her example is that you have Ruth, your first slide, and then you go into like the problem. And then, hi, my name is Ruth. This is one way that you can do the separation between the problem and the solution. You saw also that she used 3 slides to do her problem, which was great. She was able to say, okay, this is this information, this is this information, this is this information. So that's how it's a very typical like piece of being a longer 10-minute pitch, is that you can go a little bit longer in that problem, and then you can actually introduce yourself. But the tip is that you don't introduce your whole team at this point. You see how Ruth said, my name is Ruth, I know my stuff, I've made 2,000 beds, I created these things, now let me talk to you about my thing, right? So very well done. And then this is the breadcrumb, like a typical breadcrumb, which I love, is that later on she introduces her team, right? And it's like, Ruth from before, she doesn't have to say, and again, Ruth, I am blah, 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 blah. She just says, this is my team, we're fantastic, and we're going to execute on this. What you've all heard, we're going to execute on it. So this is a very like templatized, I love it, way of doing that. So well done, Ruth, on that.
Thank you.
So good. So good. And then this is when she goes into the product. I would say that, right here is where and I know that you had problems with like, this was not the right one. So you saw that this was more of the product. I would have put the product first, right? Is that like, this is what we have. We have 2 sheets, blah, blah, blah. And then say it's ergonomic, it's this and that. Because if I felt like when you do this, I still don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a linen, you did say linen solution, but what is it? What is it? Is it top, a bottom, a pillowcase of this? If I would have seen this first, I would have been more like, aha, it's a patent solution, it's this and this. Now I can go into the easy bed making solution without the lifting. Awesome, I get it. And then you go into, there's key benefits to this here, and all of these are the key benefits. So I think that if you would have done the regular pitch, this might have taken longer than 10 minutes. So I would recommend, if anybody does have benefits after the product piece, keep it a little bit tighter, of having like one slide only on the benefits. But I know why you do this, Ruth, is because, I mean, I've worked with Ruth a lot, so that's why I know this, is that it's like 72 minutes she's saving per shift. So she wants to really acknowledge that and say, this is the actual benefit, now that I talked to you about the product of this product. So it's a good place for it to be. Just be careful with it lasting longer so that you don't go over the 10 minutes. Okay. Love this. This is a little bit of the same thing as this slide. So maybe you were trying to make it better. So let me just say that I like this better.
Okay.
I like this better. I would have to be walked through it a little bit, and then I don't know if it's completely better, but I want to look at it a little bit longer with you.
Okay.
Okay, so this is where there's like 2 or 3 things on this slide, and that's very typical to a lot of entrepreneurs, is that you want to stay with Tam, Sam, and Sam. She had it there. It's there. I know she's done all the work behind it, like a lot of work to find exactly those numbers. But then you went into B2B and B2C. And that's when I lost you a little bit, right? So really stay focused on like, this is Tam, Sam, and Sam on the addressable market of my sheets, done. And say, this is the global market of this much. But then you went into like, there's B2C, and then you lost me. So if there is a B2C component that you're going to do later on, I would do it as a timeline. And that's typical to anybody on the call, is if you want to really evaluate one piece of your company, but then you want to say, and da 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 da. Don't say the end. Like, make sure you do the whole 10-minute pitch, or what you're trying to talk about your business case, right? For investment, you want to go through it all. And if there is an and, we want to go into B2C, that's a whole other slide, especially in 10-minute, because you're going to lose people, right? Because it's too long. Like, it's too long because it's 10 minutes.
Okay.
I do like this. And you're just kind of walking me through. It does look like a competitive matrix. So I would really say, look, we are differentiated in cost, focus, blah and blah. Like, walk me through what you're going to go through, because you just go straight into cost leadership, and you lose me a little bit until I'm like, okay, that's what she's talking about. So similar to Nataraj, if it's something very complicated like this, define what this is, because there's no title to this. Is it a competitive landscape? Is it your competitive advantage? Is it the value prop that you give to them? I don't know what I'm looking at in this slide. So then I'm like, what is this slide telling me? But I was listening to you and you were saying all the right things.
What
make
would you
sense?
title that?
I don't know what this is. It might be competitive advantage.
I think it's that, the
Yeah.
competitive advantage.
Yeah. And that's for everybody. If you don't have a title to a slide, put a slide title on, because that just allows that investor to be like, okay, now I'm looking at traction. Okay, now I'm looking at the ask. Now I'm looking at this, even if it is no duh, it's the ask, right? You want to make sure that you're following that. Okay. And this is a competitive advantage right here that you have the patent, you have all these things, which is amazing. This might be traction more than competitive advantage. So think about how you're walking us through your slide deck.
Okay.
This was hidden, so I'm not going to do that. That's the video financials. So I do, I love your financials, and I know they're like rooted in reality. I would separate out for everybody too, is that financials on one, so that we can see the entire thing, know where you're up and down and all around. And then say, my traction is we have these many customers and these sales for 2023. I don't know what the 75,000 is. Is it 2023? Is it accumulative? It just is, there's too much on the slide for me to and I know it's cumulative, but like it's too much for me to kind of obtain. So separate them out.
Okay.
And we have like 2 minutes. So I want to make sure, yes, I like this a lot. You're repeating yourself in the Tam Sam Psalm. Again, I wouldn't have Tam Tam Psalm on the same slide as financial forecast. So just kind of make sure as you're redoing slides, because you're doing like you, not you, Ruth, but anybody, 3 minute, 5 minute, 2 minute, da, 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 da. When you're doing something, just label it and see like, okay, am I repeating myself? Especially in the 10-minute, you might be repeating yourself. Go to market. I love it. Yes, this is like a use case. If you're tracking and you're going over 10 minutes, I would put this in the appendix and do this as a Q&A piece.
Okay.
And this is it, your team, and that's it. We're all out of time. Thank you, Ruth, for being so open to sharing another your company and going through it. I know it's hard to like hear all that. But you're amazing, and I want you to be successful as everybody else on this call. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming for the 10-minute pitch polish. We went through a lot of different structures of making the pitch long enough, making sure you put what you need inside the 10-minute so that the investor can see it as a unit, not as a 3-minute, then 10-minute, then a this. It's a unit that's a 10-minute to evaluate, typically to go into due diligence. So you want to give a little bit more rigor and showcase that you are fit for an investment, not bore them, do some breadcrumbs along the way, and finish, I like, with an executive summary, because then at the end, they're like, oh yeah, I did remember all the things that they talked about. And make sure, as Andy talked about, is that the Q&A or the appendices are there, but you're not dependent on them. So thank you for being here today. I really love doing these things. So thank you for, and whoever's doing STAC, congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.